everybody. Welcome to C3 Films. My name is Cheryl, and this here is.
Chris.
And today we're doing another episode of It Wasn't That Good. And today we're going to be talking about Avatar, the second movie, Way of the Water. Waters? The way
Way
of
of
the way of
way
the
of,
waters.
way of water.
The way of water. It's about water and shit. So disrespect.
Such disrespect. Please continue. Can we make it through the opening?
If you haven't seen it yet, we're gonna be talking spoilers. So go ahead and watch it, and then come back, or you cannot watch it. That is of no importance to me.
You were really leaning into this. Oh god, Cheryl has adopted her role as the villain.
You let me open the show, so this is what you get.
Oh my god, can we just
talk about it now? Yeah, I didn't like it. So how about you know?
Yes. Okay. Yes. You said when the movie started and you heard voiceover, you immediately got upset.
It was no. So I already knew that I probably wasn't gonna like it because of how much I hated the first one. You and I had talked about the first Avatar. It was our very first episode of It Wasn't That Good, and actually the reason why we started the show in the first place is because we really wanted to just get our feelings about why we didn't like that first Avatar. So when this second one came in, I was like, oh brother, here we go again. I'm not gonna want to watch it. It's gonna be really bad. But then we had people out there saying that it was pretty good. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a chance. I'll watch it. I'll go into it with an open mind. And then it starts with what's his name? Jake Sully.
Jake Sully.
With his voiceover over a montage and the CGI. It was all CGI, and it just kind of reminded me of Ant-Man, Quantumania. Just being in a CG world. Although there was this one moment where they had like a banana leaf, and I was like, wow, the banana leaf, it looks so real.
Please continue. I don't think.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's, that's just me. It might just also be because I've been playing more video games lately, and so when I started the movie, I was like, I feel like this looks just like the video games.
But wait, so is your argument that you thought the CGI was bad?
No, it just like it was a lot of CGI is all I'm saying. So
Okay, but it looked good though.
Sure.
Please continue.
I think the point is, like, the point for me is that I didn't feel like I was watching things happen in another world. I just felt like I was watching an animation.
Interesting.
But I think the reason why I felt like that is because I had playing video games lately, and those are animations, like, they're really good animations, like, they look really good, and the fact that this movie is comparable to those games, I think is a good thing because of how good they look.
Okay.
I just didn't feel like I just felt like I was watching an animation. Does that make sense? Like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right, but even when you had like the live action like people standing next to them, you still felt it was kind of like what happened in there for your mind?
It looked weird.
Interesting.
It looked
Okay.
weird to me, especially with Spider. And like and sometimes like where he was looking didn't quite line up with where like they had the figures. So, but that was just like is everyone hating me right now?
No,
I feel like I'm seeing a lot of things that I'm not able to read, but like there's all the
it's
hate.
okay.
But I think the thing that also really got me right away was that they brought back the same bad guy.
Stephen Lang.
So it was like Palpatine all over again. Um, and then like you, I thought like the main character was gonna be Jake, but it was
Okay.
really more about his kids, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is fine. Like I don't think there's anything terribly wrong with that. I It's just something I'm pointing out. It's not a good or a bad thing.
Got you. That's fine.
Like, are you gonna jump in here at any time, or should I just keep complaining about stuff?
I am seeing how big a hole you can make with that shovel, but like I will sit back and continue to when you're ready. I have stuff to say. I don't normally take notes as much anymore because usually these things are easier for me to remember, but this is like a 3 hour movie, so I actually took more notes of things that like stuck out to me that I wanted to make sure that I brought up. So I have a whole list of things. Like I guess going into like that whole opening segment where you're talking about like the narration, um I like how that whole opening segment happens because it exists to show you that time has passed and then how like they've had all these kids. But one of my favorite moments from that situation from that sequence is the fact that you hear them speaking in the Navi language, and then when Jake is talking, he's saying that it took a while for him to learn the language, but eventually he did, and then it might as well be English to him. And as soon as he says that, they start speaking English, and that's like the movie's way of telling you that they're still speaking in the Navi language, but it sounds like English to us because he understands it. And like I just like when movies do things like that. It finds like an aesthetic way of allowing us to not have to like listen to an entire movie in another language with subtitles and be able to just like exist, and you can suspend your disbelief. So that's like a little thing, but I think that that's very effective, and I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't always hate voiceover, but I feel like there are times where they use a voiceover when it's not needed. And that was always the format. That was the format in the first one, and so I'm not surprised at all that they use the same thing
Yeah.
in this movie as well. But like, there was just a lot of him explaining things that didn't need to be explained, and he's not doing a journal log anymore from what we know of. So it doesn't make
Mm.
sense. It's in Star Trek they're like captain's log, and then they explain everything away, but they're logging it, so it makes sense why they're doing it, and they're leading us into it, so it makes sense.
You like an in-universe reason for them to be talking to us.
Yes, I do. If you're gonna do it, be a little bit more clever with it is all I ask. So otherwise,
Okay.
I just feel like you're explaining it to me because you couldn't figure out a better way to do it visually. So
Uh,
that's
Okay.
that's my opinion of it.
So
Um,
we got to them bringing back the same villain. You didn't like the fact that they brought. I'm trying to make sure we don't spend like an hour talking about this.
about
Um,
voiceovers.
but so you say you didn't like the fact that they brought back the same villain. Like I forget his name, Quartico, something like that.
Colonel.
Yeah,
Just call him
Stephen
Colonel.
Lang's character. But yeah. So what?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was weird that they were just bringing him back. I wish that they had done something more clever with it if they were gonna bring him back. But his whole thing was just, I want to get Jake Sully, and for some reason, everyone else is like, yeah, let's get Jake Sully, and like, we don't care about anything else except for getting Jake Sully. Whereas,
I
like,
mean,
at least in the first movie, they wanted the like, the what raritarium? No, that's obtain
Rarium or something like that. Unobtainium. That's what it was.
unobtainium. um,
Porridge. That's his name.
but then it just felt so weird that like everyone in the army was like so down to go after him. I thought it would have been maybe a cooler story if like he somehow like got some science, like some he had some like plan B in the works, and some scientists brought him back, and then he's on this mission on his own, and the American army or the other generals like, no, 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 we're doing this now, leave them alone.
But you
But
but you know why it wasn't just a personal vendetta though, right? They
for
actually they went after Jake because of the fact that Jake was leading all of the raids against all of their like places because
Yeah.
Jake knows he knows the inner workings of their places. He also has organized the Na'vi in such a militaristic way. So it was personal, but also they needed to get rid of Jake in order to be able to pacify the locals.
Right. And he left.
Yeah.
And he left. So why go after him then? Because he left. So he's gone. He's
Because
not
villains don't.
he's not leading them anymore. They're completely vulnerable. He just and they didn't even go. He left. They didn't know he left.
They did know that
Which
he left because they
no,
said
but
that he goes to ground.
they find out later. But that's the
Hmm.
other thing that I thought was stupid because Jake was like, "We have to leave. We can't stay here because they're after me." So he wasn't even like, "Okay, guys, I'm leaving. Leave them alone. I'm gonna go over there." He's like, "No, like I'm gonna go run away." And so my thought was like, they're gonna go attack the village, thinking that he's there, and then find out that he's not there, but they already like killed everybody. So him leaving, like he was like, okay, we gotta leave because I don't want to risk the lives of our people, and I want to
Right.
protect this family. So by leaving, he's leaving them vulnerable for attack because they think that he's there, and he doesn't give any like hint or anything that he's not gonna be there. So he just abandons them. And like, what makes the most sense to me is that they would go and attack the village, and then find out that he's not there. But instead, they find out that he's not there. Actually, they don't find out that he's not there. They think he's maybe not there because there was a rogue ship that was going somewhere else.
Okay, well, all right. So I can understand. So yes and no. I don't think that your point is completely wrong, but the movie does make a point. Like when they start learning, like when they take Spider out and they start having to like get their own ships, their own like flying things and stuff like that. At that point, they know that Jake has gone into hiding. And to be fair, it does kind of happen off screen. Like there's no story moment when they find out that Jake has run away, but it's implied in the universe that the information travels that there is a new Tunuk, a new leader of the village because Jake has left, and so at that point, they know that Jake isn't there anymore, and since they know he's not there, they don't know where to look, so there's no point in attack. Now, there could be a point in attacking the village because you could be like, where is Jake? We were sure that you guys know. One of you must know, but whatever. That's not what happened. But they did know that he wasn't there before that ship goes to go and help Carrie, which is the whole reason that that ship even is in that area in the first place because Carrie has her seizure.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
I thought it was dumb that he went to another place. Like, what do you think was gonna happen? Like that he could hide in another village and they would never find him? Like, usually if you're gonna run away and hide because you're being pursued, you don't put other people in danger by hiding with them. So I thought that was another thing. But I will say, let's get to the part where I thought it was good. And that is
That exists. Okay. Yes, please let.
I really liked that they made it more about the kids and they gave the kids the light, to show, uh, that they could surpass their parents, that they could grow into something. They gave, the arc to the kids because to reboot the arc of Jake and, Zoe Saldana's character would be,
Terry.
yeah, it would be just, the whole thing just recycled over, which would have made me hate this movie like 1,000 times more. But because they made it more about the kids and they made the kids more diverse, like, it's not just his biological kids, but then we have a Spider, which, by the way, no one cares about Spider. Except for Carrie, which is another complaint that I have. But we're talking about what I do like.
Wait. We can't let that slide real quick. Hold up. You said you said no one cares about Spider, including who?
Except for Carrie.
Oh, except for Kiri.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Loak goes after Spider. Loak says that they can't leave him behind.
Yeah,
So
at the end.
yeah, so Loak and Kiri both care about him, and you could argue that Nataeum does
Sure,
too.
but I'll get into that a little bit later because
Okay.
it's not just about It's not just about
Okay.
Spider, but this is an
Continue, please.
acceptable complaint. Whew. All right, I got one in. Um, um, I liked the new tribe. I thought it was a cool idea to
Yes.
see more of the planet and know and be introduced to the idea that there's other kinds of tribes, other kinds of Avatar people. I'm not really sure what they called themselves.
Yeah, I
Um,
forget. I wrote it down, but
but they
yes.
have you know they have a different biological like evolution, I guess. Like they have their tails are different. They have more they have fins, so they're
Right.
water people. They have adapted to living in the water and by the water, and they even look different. Like I really like the idea of them not being the same color of blue. um, I can't. I'm
Don't
never
read.
gonna be able to
Don't,
pronounce any of
he's
that.
he's lying. He's lying. Don't look at the chat.
I'm not even gonna try because I'm like I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry.
Matt is
Um,
correct. Caboose is messing with you. But please continue.
what is that? What is that? Anyways, so yeah, so I really did like that. I like the bond. I like that, it just felt refreshed because they were more about the kids, the youth, the teenager kind of, um, you know, bond. And I really liked the whales.
Hmm.
I thought that was a cool thing, except for they didn't give him any redemption, even though he totally saved the day. The one outcast whale.
I mean,
Um,
that was the redemption. The fact, it was more like learning to see him differently. But yeah, we didn't get to see like him being reaccepted or anything else like
reintegrated,
that.
yeah.
Reintegrated. So yeah, that part of his story doesn't happen. But at least he does he saves them all in front of everyone else. So like, if nothing else, at least the kids know that what Loak was saying is true.
Yeah. So the other thing I didn't like was just how the kids kept getting captured and then they escape and then they get recaptured and then they go in to like save the ones that were captured and in turn get captured while they were uncapturing other people and then one of them even dies. But in all of that, like they go into it with the water tribe attacking
Hmm.
with them together with
Yeah.
Jake's family. And at some point, they all just disappear. They're nowhere to be found. They just all went home,
I knew this was going to
and
be one that you said. I knew that you were going to bring this one up, but
and
because I noticed
apparently
it too.
they didn't care that one of their kids, the girl, was still there with them. And so they didn't care about her. They didn't care about Spider.
Wow. Wow.
And they never explain Kiri's like origins. They just kind of show how like you know, she's special and that she's like
Yeah.
one with the tree of life and everything. I thought it was cool that they had an underwater tree of life. Um,
Right.
but
So I actually made a note of that too. That was one of the things that like stuck out to me for both viewings was like Kiri's story. Um, like it feels like it's incomplete, but I think that's intentional. That's the problem with the fact that this is meant to be like an ongoing story. But yeah, they kind of like even have that moment where they say if she connects with the life tree again, then she can have another seizure and die. And usually when something like that is said in a movie, it's like a plant where the character's gonna have to do something like that, put themselves at risk in order to save like the members of the family. Um, that so that being said, in this movie doesn't hold any weight for this movie, but I think that's because we're gonna find out more as we keep going. Because yeah, the nature of her birth is implied to be through Awa itself. Like the world itself is like what gave birth birth to her, and that is probably something that they're going to want to expand on. But yes, for the sake of this one movie, I can understand why that would be a plot point that you would find a little frustrating about not having the whole thing like not having answers.
Right, because I don't want an Avatar 3.
Anyway, and also yes, them all disappearing I thought was a little weird too, because like there's at one point everyone is fighting, and then by the end when the ship is like kind of flipped over, no one else is there except for like our main characters. So yeah, that was, and like when I was watching it I was like, okay, but I understand why we're trying to make it personal, but it does feel like all of the other Navi, or I guess the other character, the other like tribe people that were here aren't here anymore. So like I get where you're coming from there.
Are there really going to be 5?
Yeah, there's 5 movies.
Oh my goodness gracious. Do we?
So
Please tell me we're not going to have to watch all of them for the show.
if we're still doing this show over the next 5 years, then yes, we probably
I
will.
quit.
So anyway though, but like all right, so to give you a quick break so that I could just say some things, because like there are some, believe it or not, there are things that I do want to say about the
We
movie.
have 9 minutes.
Oh my god. So I like the fact, I agree with you, I like the fact that it's about the family. I actually think Jake Sully's a better character in this movie than he is in the first Avatar film. It's really about him being a dad, and he doesn't know how to be a dad. He has to learn how to be a dad, and so and he's hard. I like that he's not like even a great dad. He's hard on his kids for like no reason. He's always hard on Nateum. Nateum's actually one of another point of like complaint for me, because I felt like I wanted to see more with that character done. Like I feel like Nateum and Took, like those two kids kind of are just there. It's really about Loak and Kiri more so than anyone else. And so when Nateum dies, like it's it hurts only because it hurts for Neytiri. So when I see Neytiri like crying over her kid, like I feel her pain more so than the pain of this character dying in the first place. Um, and so I just felt like for Nateum that they could have done him a little bit better, especially because he spends so much of the film being like chastised for not being better about watching the actions of his younger brother. And so it feels like he never gets like any real recognition throughout the film until like, and even at the moment of his death, it's just kind of like, okay, well, my son is dead, but like that level of recognition to just be like, yes, you are a warrior, you are my son, like that never really, he never really gets that. I feel so. For me, his story like left me wanting a little bit more, but I do like the fact that the story is about like you said mentioned earlier, the kids also becoming better than their parents. Like they get here because of the actions of like their parents, but now that they're here they're learning, and they learn to the point where at the end their parents would die without their kids. So their kids are growing into their own, they're becoming their own types of Navi, and they're literally able to help their parents in the end. If without them, their parents would die. So like together, this whole family, like they said, Sully stick together. Like the family is the reason that the family survives. So I like that element of the movie as well. I think the characters were very well done. I think the movie looks great. It looks great in theaters. It looks great on like screen. I think that they did a really good job. Where like for me, there were times when I would actually forget that I was watching something that was like almost like 100% animated, right? Like when I'm looking at it, I'm like kind of impressed that we're seeing these actions happening in what feels like a real space. So I did like that. I did like that element. Um, I think the movie gets real rough near the climax, like emotionally. Like I think the wailing scene is like a little much for me personally, but I understand why it's there. It's there because of like James Cameron's own feeling about wailing and stuff like that. Um, but that scene just felt very gratuitous for me personally. But like I said, I understand why it's there. But it's one of those things of like if you like creatures, that's probably a scene you want a little bit warning going into, because they spend a good amount of time like hunting down these creatures and making sure they go through all the details of how they slowly kill this one creature, and then like Spider mentions, and they waste it. They take like this one thing that also feels a little bit random, but because it's like this one thing that's mentioned in this movie, for like that 5 minute sequence, and then it's just not in the movie anymore. So it's probably another element that's going to come in other movies. But yes, it is kind of like one of these things of like, hey, here's another rare minimal that we're mining for, but we're only mentioning it right now because in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that important, I guess.
I actually really like that part. I know, you know, it was I could see how it's hard for some people to watch, but I actually really enjoyed all the whale stuff because
Mm-hmm.
it's like a real life thing. Like that's what people actually do. Maybe not to whales in particular, but
Yeah.
like for example, shark fins. It got really
Mm-hmm.
bad where fishermen were just grabbing the sharks, cutting off their fins, and then throwing them back in to the ocean, and like it,
Right.
basically wasting because they only wanted one part of the animal. So that just kind of felt really real to me, and it made total sense to me that they would do all of that just for one thing, and that would and what is it?
Oh
It
yeah.
made like it's like to help people look young or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. It basically it said it stops aging completely.
yeah, it's like I can totally see that being like a legit real thing happening in our
Oh
world.
yeah. Rita is what it was called, and yeah, and I think that's probably going to be a plot point that comes back as well. So that's why it's getting like mentioned here. This is kind of like, I guess it's just introduction, but yeah, it's barely a thing in this movie. Like it literally exists for like a 5 minute scene, and then outside of that, it's not important. So, but yeah, you can have the floor again if you would like. Is there anything else you? What else did you want to say?
No, no, go on. This is your 9 minutes, and now you have three.
Wow.
Now you have three.
Anyways, oh my goodness. So, but anyway, so like I like all of those elements. I think that the actors that they got to play these characters are were good actors. I think it is funny that James Cameron thinks that 90s bullying still happens because that's how he approaches like his children interacting with each other because this is what they did in 90s movies. He even has the whole thing of like the woman coming out of the water all like and like glistening and like the moment when you see them and stuff like that. So I thought that that was kind of funny. It's like these old school tendencies showing in James Cameron and the entire like last sequence. I would just felt to myself, okay, so you're kind of redoing the Titanic in this scene. You're doing another sinking ship in this moment, but hey, it looks good. Um,
That's a
I
good
did
point.
I yeah, right. So you know, like, oh yeah, no, I feel you. I just think that the way it is handled, it can look different. Caboose. That's all I'm saying. That's it. This it's it. Normally, when you see bullying, it's done one way. So that's literally all that means. But anyway, the other thing that I did like the fact that the conflict did arise with them where we get to see Neytiri like really working in this movie. Like Neytiri is like kicking some serious butt in this film and I love it. And I love that her and Jake are working together. Like her and Jake feel like a unit and they feel like they are really there to support each other. And I enjoy that element of the film immensely. I love the fact that they are strong in their relationship and that they both go out and they're like, we're gonna get stuff done. Even like the other tribe, when his pregnant wife is when they're about to go out and mount up, and he says to his wife, hey, maybe you should stay behind. And she just grabs that spear and says, I ride. And I was like, oh, let's go. We going, we getting in there. So I love the sense of community that the film builds as well. And so like, even though it was 3 hours, at the end of the day, for me, I did not feel that runtime. And trust me, I noticed it when I had to sit down and watch it. I saw 3 hours, 15 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to take a break. But I feel like the pacing for the film is very well handled from scene to scene. I think that in the middle, you could say that the film slows down considerably, but there's so much character work that's being done there, predominantly for Lowak and Kiri, that I really feel like it's not bad. I don't think it's time that was wasted. And even watching it, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, if I had to cut scenes, what would I choose to cut? And I'm pretty sure I could find something, but all in all, I felt like those scenes were important for establishing and building character, which isn't which matters when you want to keep moving forward through the series, especially considering that it seems like going forward, Loak and Curie are going to be our main characters in the future. So that's why I think Cameron wanted us to spend much more time with them, or as much time with them as we could, to really get to like learn about these characters and grow to like them.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point that you made because I also felt that. I didn't realize that it was 3 hours plus. Um, I mean, I wasn't surprised when I heard that, and like I probably just kind of had it ingrained in my mind that it was gonna be a really long movie, but I didn't feel like it was like dragging on. Like I had a harder time watching The Northman than this movie.
Right?
That movie felt like 100 times longer to me than this movie. So, I mean, all in all, like I really didn't like the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
This one was better. I thought, there was some redemption in this. It was much better made story wise. I think you're probably right. It had a lot to do with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
It really does play that. But yeah, it was a big improvement for me. I hope that the ones in the future are going to be even more of an improvement. Maybe James Cameron's taking note, but he is also the kind of guy that can just do whatever he wants. So
They also already
we'll
filmed
see.
most of them, so they kind of
I don't
already.
know, but like,
So then, all right, I have one. I have one final question for you.
okay.
And so then, what was the line? What was the line that made it so that you did not think the movie was that good overall?
I think it was having the same villain come back. I think that's
Okay.
I think that's what made me go, oh brother, I'm getting like PTSD symptoms from Star Wars,
Hmm.
and like it's just I think that's what really like pushed me over, and just like the actions that the characters were taking didn't really make sense to me. Like, why would they
Hmm.
leave? I feel like, if you're gonna have this really long movie, at least take the time to explain why it makes sense for the characters to be doing certain things.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like it just at the end it was just kind of falling apart for me with the things not, like the the tribe disappearing in the middle of the battle and them not caring about the girl,
The daughter still
their
being there.
daughter, and um, just yeah, it felt like I had some loose ends there because of Kiri and the whale,
Hmm.
and then I guess the fact that freaking bad guy is still alive.
Yeah, Spider's gonna have some explaining to do. I hope Spider told them that the Colonel's still alive. Otherwise,
They're gonna kill
gonna be a
him.
right. Oh, that brings I one other thing I want to mention. I like that Nateri was ready to kill that kid. She was ready. She was ready to kill Spider.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say that felt like, I guess it makes a lot more sense knowing that they're gonna be making another movie. But I was like,
Hmm.
they spent quite a bit of time showing us that Spider was observing Nateri and Jake being violent and being at their worst because of his dad, his biological
Hmm.
dad. And he saw it in the video when they were playing back
Yeah.
how he died in the first place, but also, Spider was watching Nateri killing people um, in the background, like when he was hiding, and then to really top it off, she was like holding a knife to his neck. So I was like, that's it. You're turning this kid against yourselves,
Right.
and like not on purpose, but because of your lack of care for him, because they just left. They didn't even try to go back for him. They're like, "Yep, we're gonna take our family and leave." That's why I was saying nobody cares about him because they made no effort to go back. Like if it was their eldest son, like hell yeah, they're gonna go back for him. They're gonna put up a
Yeah,
fight.
they're not gonna just leave him.
But
Yeah.
for Spider, they're just like, "Oh, we lost him," and like
Yeah, fine.
that's it. And like and that's gonna be their undoing. I think it's not it makes a good storyline, I guess you
Hmm.
could say, because now there's a way for them to go. Now there's a story to develop for Spider. But the issue with that is like I feel like those are very poor reflection on our main characters who are supposed to be the good guys, and that
Hmm.
happens so early on. It makes me feel like our good guys aren't really very good at all.
They just don't care about no one else's kids with their own.
Yeah, I just exactly. I mean, they don't care about anybody else because they abandoned their village and they put all their troubles on another
Another
village. So
village. Yeah.
I think that's the other thing that like kind of put me off at the very beginning. Is just like that I wasn't like acknowledging it at the time or like really, you know, like developing my opinion on
Mhm.
that yet, but like just kind of subconsciously, I was kind of like, "What the heck, man? What's
Oh
with our
yeah.
characters? Why are they doing this?"
Yeah, because they even say like at the end, there's like you brought this war here, and it's like yeah, you kind of did, like just you being here. That's why he knows. That's why when they start burning villages, he first thing he asks is did they kill anyone? But it's just like
Yeah,
yeah, they're looking for you, and the only reason they found out where you were is because of your daughter. Like it's not Kiri's fault, but you called in people to like help her. They didn't even help her. It was like um, it was just the tribe that helped her, but you called in people to help her, and that's why you got found out. And so, like, yeah, the movie needs to happen, so it's fine, but it's like 100% like it. That's on them. That's
yeah.
100% on them.
It just bothered me how much they didn't care about Spider.
Yeah, and I like that scene because I like how Spider's asking his dad not to kill Carrie, and Carrie's asking her mom not to kill Spider, and they're
Yeah,
both held hostage. Like it's a pretty. I like that's a really cool like a showdown moment. But yeah, we'll have to see where this goes in the future. If it started off with you hating the first one and me us both hating the first one, me liking this one, and you saying that it wasn't that good, but it also wasn't that bad, then maybe that means by the third one they'll have you on board. Maybe
we'll
three is a charm for
see.
you.
We'll see.
So, but all right, we've been talking about this for a while. Any other last thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, guys. So that's what we thought about Avatar: The Way of Water. What did you guys think about it? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel kind of like Cheryl, where you didn't think it was that good, or did you feel like me and some other people, where we thought that it was a nice change of pace and that it was pretty good? And are you excited to see more Avatar movies? What have you thought about this and more? Comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and I can't believe there's gonna be three more of these